So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to stand behind your partner, and we're going to, by the way, you can change after you help somebody, then their partner can help you. You're going to gently put your hands in a place. Jenny's got long hair. So between her neck and her shoulders is an area called the trapezius, okay? And you're going to gently put both of your hands, one on either side of her neck, not hard, very gently. In fact, what we want you to do is not do anything at first, but just to let your hands gently rest on that part of her neck and trapezius. Why you're doing that, there's a reason. You're going to develop what they call, I know it's a technical word and I'll explain it, a proprioceptive feel, which is a physical sensitivity to the other person. Now that takes a little time for somebody who's never done it. For people who have done it, we do it very quickly. And we can feel where the tension is, we can feel how hard or soft to go, and help them release it. But for you, we're going to move slower. And you're going to take your time. You're just going to let your hands rest there on the trapezius, either side. And gently, as you begin to feel the musculature and the fascia, we've talked about it today, the connective tissue within the musculature, you're going to begin to let your hands gently be drawn into the what we call the depth barrier, gently drawn into her muscle, her fascia. And we're not forcing it. We're just going to let it almost feels like we're being drawn into it. It's called going to the depth barrier. It will stop. You'll feel your hands begin to melt into the tight muscle or whatever, or the trapezius. There's so many different ways to do these kinds of things. But I can feel it right now. And fascia moves in strange ways. It's not just one way. It begins to move under your hands circular. It's not what they call a linear kind of movement. So your hands begin to be guided by the movement of her musculature under your hands, and you just want to just follow it, stay connected physically to it, and let yourself just feel it, and let your hands gently begin to be drawn down and sink into the muscle itself on either side, not forcing anything. Okay, now I can feel that's happening right now, and also it's not moving just one way. It's moving my hands in various ways, gently and very subtly. There's also what we call moving to the outside margins of the muscle, and that means each hand will be, you'll feel it with that proprioceptive feel, being drawn to the outer edge, almost toward each shoulder. And her body's beginning to kind of gently roll under my hands, and I'm going to just follow that. I'm not going to force it. In fact, I'm going to encourage it and support her. And as she's doing it, the musculature and fascial tissue, connective tissue, is beginning to soften. I can also feel her neck's beginning to move, and her head is beginning to roll a little bit. And I'll show you how this goes. Now, I'm staying connected at the depth barrier right now with where it goes. And if it draws me down deeper, I'll go in deeper, but not harshly, and not with a deep, hard penetration, not this exercise. And one side may begin to move more than the other, so I'll let that hand follow it. Now you'll notice that now I'm not doing this. Her body's beginning to do what we call unwind. And the musculature is beginning to release the tension that it's holding, and it's just unwinding itself. I'm going to follow that. And as we do, I can feel the tension beginning to unwind under my hands. If my hands are drawn to the outer margins even more, one more than the other, then so be it. Then I'll follow that too. But I am staying connected with my hand physically to her trapezius and that area around her neck. Okay? Now she's rolling. That's an unwinding, and we want that. Because as the body does that, it's releasing the tension that it's been holding. Now she works really hard. We just got done with the broadcast. We have clients that we see. We help them recover from their traumatic experiences. We do a lot of other kinds of work. So Jenny's a busy lady. She administrates all the caregiving. She works with my wife. She's on the computers. She works hard. We all do. So her neck's beginning to want to release and just gently roll. And as it does, it begins to release the tension that she's been holding. My hands are following, although I'm staying firmly connected, not harshly, but firmly. I'm rolling with her. Now, at some point, I can release one of my hands, and I can help her. The area on this side of her neck it seems to want to release the constriction, and it seems to want to, we call elongate, or just lengthen out. And I'll gently just take the top of her head and just hold it. As I'm holding that area of her trapezius, nice and, when I say firmly, but I don't mean harshly. And I'm also beginning to feel her neck is beginning to unwind. And so I'm holding it and allowing that area of her fascia, musculature, to relax under my hand. And the constriction is beginning to come out, and the area is beginning to go from constriction to expansion. And that's what you want, because that releases the tension. I can feel it now. The energy that's being released right into my hand and my forearm. I can feel that goes with the territory. And that's the connection you have if you're empathic and physically connected, compassionate for someone. You're going to feel that. So I do feel the tension releasing. And as it's releasing from her neck, I feel some of it moving into my wrist, my forearm, and some of my hand. That's okay. So I'm just following it gently, supporting her in whatever direction her neck needs to go gently, and allowing it to unwind all the tension and constriction that it's accumulated. And the energy that's locked in there. You'll feel that go into your body and your hand. Now I'm used to it. I know about it. Now eventually the person doing it is going to need to have this done for themselves too. Because we can absorb this. And you do this enough, you can absorb the energy. That's okay. At the time, that's fine. But later on you'll find that you'll need to deal with that yourself and get some help yourself. Right now you'll notice I shifted my hand to her gently over her forehead, because now her neck is unwinding to the other direction, and I'm just following that gently, and I'm going to shift my hand over to the other side of her trapezius while I'm holding her head as it's unwinding, and I'm gently feeling the tension in this area. Ooh, sorry, Jen. Right here, and you can feel how tight that is and constricted. So I'm going to just wait on it, because as it releases, it's not a hard, crisp break. It's very soft, and it will go just so far, and that's what we call a stopping point. In other words, it's only going to release so far, and we got to stay with it until it releases more, and that may take a little time, although hers is happening pretty fast. She's used to doing this, that's why. But I did this with Maritha, our caregiver, on Saturday, and she felt like $1 million afterwards. Really, she went right to work and did a beautiful job all day, all evening. But you can see this area right here, from under her ear, right on this muscle, all the way down to her shoulder, is so tight. Now I'm just holding it with a nice connected grip again, but I'm not doing a lot. I'm not penetrating it. I'm not working it hard. I could at some other time, but that's not what we're doing here. And we're just letting it naturally unwind the tension that she's been holding until it comes back, and she comes back to center. Now it's going back. Now we're going to just ask her how she's feeling, how that was, okay?
Oh, I feel like I released tension, like you said, both of these areas. I also realized I wasn't breathing very deeply, and I was able to start breathing again, which also allowed me to release some tension.
Yeah.
And it just felt like my whole body slowed down.
Yeah. That's the beauty of releasing the fascia in one area. It will begin to affect other. It's all interconnected. It almost looks like if you can visualize a spider web that runs throughout your entire body. And it goes right to the cellular level, all through the musculature, connective tissue. That's another name that they use. It's more than connective tissue, but let's say connective tissue. But it works on other parts of the body. So when you release her neck, she all of a sudden said her chest was releasing, and she became aware of the constrictions in her breathing. That happens from stress. And when you do this kind of work, it begins to get you a more aware physically of certain other areas that you're holding that have accumulated stress and distress. And she said she began to slow down, her breathing began to open up again, and she felt better. Anyway, that's it for today. That's our introduction. There are so many techniques that we use. There usually, many times, can be an emotional release too that happens, and we realize that. I'm not calling it psychotherapy anymore. I don't do that because that's not what this is. This is helping people release the tension and constrictions in their body after they accumulate stress from trauma, crisis, or difficult life experiences. All right? Anyway, I hope this helps. Anybody can do this. You don't have to be a professional with a PhD. Anyone could do this to help, and you can help your people you're taking care of and in your life. Thank you. Have a good time. Feel better. Bye-bye.